How's it going, YouTube? Today I'm going to show you a few different things. One is going to be how to make enemies follow you depending on how far away from you they are. So for example, if you get within like 10 pixels of the enemy, they'll start to chase you. I'm also going to show you how to make the player follow your mouse, kind of similar to my how to make an object follow the mouse tutorial. So we're going to start with creating a sprite. For this tutorial, I'm just going to use a simple square for the player and for the enemy. So for the player, it'll be a green square, and I'll make another one, and that's going to be the enemy. So we'll probably do that one in red, just like that there. I want to make two objects. I'm going to make one for the player. I'll call it player. I'm going to make one for the enemy. I'm going to call it enemy. Give it that sprite. You want to have a room. I'm going to make the room a little bit smaller since it's just tutorial purposes. It's not an actual game. Suppose I could make it a little bit smaller. We'll do 500 by 500. And what we're going to do is place some enemies in the room. We'll start with 4, and I guess we can also put the player in the room, and then we'll configure everything to work correctly. So the first thing we're going to do is go into the player, and we're going to add a step event, and we're going to use the drag execute code, and we'll do x equals mouse x, y equals mouse y. And that will make the player follow the mouse. And then as far as the enemy, we're going to go into the step event of the enemy, and we're going to drag the code in, and we're going to type in, there's this function called distance to object. So let me show you kind of how this works. So we'll do if distance to object player, this is where the player would go in. So yeah, and then this is where you put the variable in on how far away you want to check. So if the distance to object between the enemy and the player is maybe less than 50, let's do 15. Whoops. Then we can do this code called move towards. And we would do player.x, player.y at a speed of, let's say, 3. And then we'll do else if distance to player, oops, I meant object. We're putting an else statement in here, so that way if it doesn't meet the requirements, the object will just stop, and that's what we want it to do. So if the distance to the player is greater than 15, x equals x, y equals y, speed equals 0, and then we'll close that off. Alright, now I'm going to run the game, and you will see that the player actually moves with the mouse, and the enemies won't be moving at all. Now if you notice, the enemies aren't moving at all, but if I get closer to them, as you can see, the enemies start to follow the player, and when we move away, they just stop, because that's what we programmed the code to do. So if you like my tutorials and you want more, make sure to subscribe, and that's how to make an enemy follow the player. See you next time.